what is an SPV and which SPV shares are available for trading right now?
Okay, well, just on the point of what is an SPV, I'm sorry it sounds like a complex term, but it's a special purpose vehicle. It means an entity that's created like a company, but it doesn't operate like a company. It doesn't, buy and sell goods. It's not involved in any trading activity. It simply holds an asset. And that asset, in this case, may be the shares of a company that's raised funds on Bank to the Future. And this company, all it's doing is holding those shares of the company that's raised the money on Bank to the Future. But then underneath that, the company itself, what the people are buying into in the primary market are the shares of that SPV. So it's one-to-one, it's a mirror of the shares of the company, but all it is doing is holding an asset. And so in the primary market, when people come in and they're making an investment, they're buying SPV shares. And that SPV is created solely with the purpose of buying the shares in the investment in the companies raising finance. In the secondary market, there is no difference. The shares are owned by you when you make your investment, the SPV shares, and then you're able to trade those shares. So as you can see on the screen, when you see, for example, Kraken or Ripple or Bitfinex, it's a very specific name. It's got the name of the SPV that is being used where people can buy and sell shares. So that's one of the biggest things when you're coming to invest in Banks of the Future. There's a lot of language about you being clear that you're not investing directly into Kraken. You're investing into a special purpose vehicle that itself is investing in Kraken. And so you have those shares. It's totally mirrored. There is no difference, one-to-one on the shares of Kraken. But here you are, you're holding those shares in the SPV. And because of that, you're then able to trade them. So it's one of the benefits of being in this SPV structure. If you were holding directly the shares in that company, there may be restrictions on whether you can or cannot trade the shares. But by it being in this SPV structure, we were able to create this internal market amongst the SPV holders. That's essentially the basic structure.
Yeah, the other thing to add to that is why we actually do that in the first place. There's this concept of a private company and a public company. So if you want to be a public company when you're traded on a stock market, the cost to do that is so high and the regulations around it are so high that you have to really be a very established company. So if you want to invest in a company that's much earlier stage in order to get those high risk, high returns, then you can't do that on the public markets because the cost to do that is too high. So many of these companies are not really, they might be on the path to go in public, but they're not ready to go public yet. So they are restricted in terms of who can actually invest. And this is called the private market. And the private markets, they have different regulatory requirements. And so what we've done at Bank to the Future is taken out all of the complexities around making sure that you qualify to be able to invest in the private markets and use our leverage that we have by being an investor in many of the companies in the industry to actually create something that works for the company, whereby they don't want and they can't have 3,000 investors directly, and they don't really have the resources to manage that. So by us putting together an SPV, we can take care of much of the headache and the processes we built over the last decade as the first securities business in the industry. And then that allows you to be able to, really not dedicate your whole life to being a professional venture capitalist and get access to these opportunities, provided you are depending on your country, the investor, the regulations in your country qualifies you to invest. So it's kind of the reason that we do this is to create a much more willingness from the company to have more shareholders and to give you the opportunity to diversify widely without necessarily having a full-time career as a professional venture capitalist.
So a very basic question here then actually is, well, I did ask what is an SPV, but on the trading platform, it does show as SP and not SPV. Is there a reason for that?
Yeah, a segregated portfolio is what SP means. When we talk about SPV, we are talking about it in general as the idea of creating an entity which has only one purpose, which is to hold an asset. In this case, it's the shares of the company that's raising money on the Bank to the Future platform. SP is a specific type of SPV, if you will, and it's the type of structure that we deploy using our Cayman Islands exempt registered entity. So, you know, it's not necessarily that it's something different, it's just that it's specific, it's a specific type of SPV.